Hi everyone, Brian Oswald here with Oswald Financial Group. We're very excited to partner with Allianz regarding our first ACE speaker series that focuses not only on your financial well-being, but also your health. Our first video will focus on your cognitive health and the four major pillars that support your health and longevity. Now, we will pass it on to Shawn Stevenson to help you learn more. Thank you.
Hi there, and thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Shawn Stevenson, and I'm the author of the international best-selling book Sleep Smarter and host of the Model Health Show, featured as the #1 health podcast in the United States. And I've devoted about 20 years into the field of health and wellness, about 10 years as a clinician and working with patients and seeing an absolute incredible transformation in the field of health and wellness over the past couple of years. And today we're going to talk about some of the most powerful tips, tools, and insights that you can use in your life starting today to transform your physical health, but also, as you're going to discover, transform the health of your brain as well. And the reason that this is so important, and I want to teach you things that give you more bang for your buck. You do one thing and get the double benefit of physical health and also mental health, is because the brain itself is really the governing force, determining what happens with our bodies, determining how we feel, determining the thoughts that we're carrying, and how all of that integrates to create a level of vitality and happiness every single day in our lives. So we're going to go through 4 unique, very powerful pillars for you and provide you with specific things for you to do in each of these 4 pillars. And we're going to start right at the top with the first pillar, and this is leveraging the power of the right type of exercise and movement each day. And specifically, is start with the brain health. And coming up, I'm going to be guest lecturing for a neuroscience class for NYU. And the professor who put this class together is Dr. Wendy Suzuki. And she's a best-selling author, incredible neuroscientist. And we shared the stage together a few years ago, and just such a pioneer in this field. And she came forward and really changed the face of science, because what I was taught from my university setting was that basically as the brain ages, it loses function, and that's the end of the story. There's nothing you can do about it. Recently, we've discovered that the brain can, in fact, improve in form and function even as you age. And you can actually grow new brain cells, which was once thought to be something that just didn't happen. And Dr. Wendy Suzuki found that specifically we can grow and develop more brain cells in the memory center of your brain. And this is something we all are concerned about, is losing our memories, losing that connection to our life and our vitality that we accumulate over the years with our friends and our family and our experiences, and helping to prevent issues like dementia and Alzheimer's is so important today. And we found that exercise, specific types of exercise, can actually stimulate the creation of new brain cells in the part of the brain most responsible for your memory, which is known as the hippocampus. All right, so how do we do it? Well, what she discovered is that aerobic activity, cardiovascular-based activity, stuff that's good for your heart, is incredibly good for your memory and growing new brain cells. All right, so my bottom line for you today is understand that simply going for a daily walk can help to give you a younger, healthier, more fit brain, and also, of course, get the physical fitness benefits as well. The minimum effective dose is about 10 minutes of walking each day. The ideal optimal amount is 30 minutes of walking each day. And if you want to be an A-plus player, of course, you can add in a little bit more, but that's the range that we want to target. So #1, cardiovascular exercise is crucial for protecting your brain and maintaining your memories. So that's #1. #2, a randomized controlled trial published in the Archives of Internal Medicine discovered that resistance training promotes cognitive and functional brain plasticity. Now, if you think about plastics, like plastics can be molded into everything. And the brain itself has this plasticity where it's able to change shape, form, and function and create new connections in the brain throughout your entire life. This is something, again, we didn't really think was happening. But strength training, so doing strength training, resistance training for our bodies makes our brain more fit as well and strong as well. And it's kind of understanding the brain is very much like a muscle in many aspects. And there's this statement in physical fitness that if you don't use it, you lose it. And so really engaging in life, like we know, like cognitive exercises are great for the brain, doing puzzles and Sudoku and things like that, things that are challenging mentally, but physically doing things with your body helps to keep your brain and that neuroplasticity going and your cognitive function going for many years as well. So what does this all mean? How do we leverage and utilize all of this together? So for each of these pillars, I'm going to give you 3 specific walk-away tips that you can start to utilize starting now. So the number 1 tip here is for you to make it a mandate, make it a must, make it a non-negotiable that you get in at least 10 minutes of walking each and every day. Your genes require you to do this. Your DNA expects you to walk. It's the number 1 thing that the human body is really designed to do as far as movement, which is walking. And so if you do this 10 minutes a day, you're going to be able to protect your brain from accelerated brain aging and also create new brain cells that allow you to maintain your valuable memories for your lifetime. All right, 30 minutes is the optimal number. And again, if you want to be an A+ student and go beyond that, that's all good. But 10 minutes to 30 minutes is what you need to target every day. And the great news is if 30 minutes is your target to get the most benefit, you can split that up. So the science shows that, if you do 3 10-minute walks a day or maybe split up into 15-minute increments, and you can use this time as well to connect with friends and family. Maybe you're walking with a family member or simply hopping on the phone with them, put on a little headset or listen to a podcast or an audio book. Use this time or just spending some time with yourself, with your thoughts, and just, having that time to just ruminate on ideas and to think and just to have a clear mind or just to enjoy the environment. All right. But use this time every single day. Make it a mandate because it is incredibly important for your brain and your physical health. All right. So that's number 1. Number 2, strength training that works for you. You don't have to go and start throwing a bunch of weights around. You can I want you to start where you are right now. If the best that you are able to do is simply leaning over and putting your hands on your kitchen top and doing push-ups there on the counter, start there. Just doing a little bit of resistance training is going to have big payoffs for your neurological function and your physical body. So, and also same thing with squats. You can utilize a chair, like just get up. And patients that I work with that in their 80s and 70s and 60s, some of them had various issues that we had to work around. So simply having them to sit down in a chair and stand up for 5 to 10 reps a couple of times and a couple of times each week. Massive benefits, not just in their functionality and being able to do those things we need to be able to do as we get older, but also paying off better in their performance each day and how they feel and their cognitive function. All right, so don't negate how a little bit can give you a lot of benefit. All right, so start where you are, do what you can do, and there's a ton of resources as far as strength training exercises out there on the internet that you can get access to, YouTube and various things, but even, getting a personal trainer, a coach, or, a family member who knows a little bit about this stuff and just doing what you can do, but you need to add in some strength training. And number 3, the best form of exercise is the exercise that you'll actually do. So what do I mean by that? We tend to compartmentalize exercise as like cardio and lifting weights. But in truth, anything where you're moving your body is exercise. Anything where you're engaging with life is exercise. And so if you love to roller skate, if you love to hula hoop, if you love to dance, whatever the case might be, we have to give ourselves permission to do those things that we enjoy doing. That is the very best form of exercise. It's like a superpower when we give ourselves permission to do the things that we enjoy on a consistent basis. All right, so I hope that makes sense. Utilize the exercise that you actually enjoy doing because that is the exercise that you're going to continue doing far into the future. All right. Now, we're going to move on to pillar number 2 now. And so pillar number 2 is leveraging the power of rest and recovery, leveraging the power of sleep. Now, here's why. Number 1, and this is something that we recently discovered, when you are sleeping at night, your brain undergoes a process of rapid and intense cleansing, getting rid of metabolic waste products and really clearing out. Your brain is doing millions of processes every single microsecond, and there's a lot of metabolic waste. And one of the things we've discovered is that what's most linked to Alzheimer's right now is an inability of the brain to detoxify itself, right? So getting out these metabolic wastes, and your brain does that. It's 10 times more active cleaning itself while you're sleeping than while you're awake. And it's done by something called your glymphatic system. It's run by the glial cells in your brain, and it jumps into hyper mode when you're sleeping. So this is why it's so important. And so that's number one, as far as our brain and cognitive performance is concerned. To protect and clean our brains, to keep our brains spick and span, we need to make sure that we're getting sleep. And number two, there was some research done by some scientists at UC Berkeley, and they actually took imaging of the brain itself in activity, and they found that even a short amount of sleep debt, the parts of the brain that are most associated with performance, with executive function, with decision making, with distinguishing between right and wrong, with social control, the executive part of the brain starts to go cold. Brain activity starts to diminish rapidly when you're sleep deprived. Now, the other problem is that they found that simultaneously, the part of your brain most associated with emotional overload, with being upset, with making poor decisions that are based on emotion and not on reasoning, the amygdala, which serves us in some dimensions, but when this part of the brain, what they've discovered is that part of the brain hijacks the function of your brain overall, and that part of the brain is really lit up when you're sleep deprived. So I don't know if you've ever noticed this in your lifetime, but when we are tired, we tend to not be the same person. We tend to be more irritable, we tend to be more emotional, we tend to be less patient. When we're tired, we know about this for kids, it's like, oh, you just need a nap. That's why you're acting up. We're just big adult babies, and we tend to do the same things. So understanding this, that this is happening in our brains, whether we realize it or not, but now we have the data to affirm it. So number one with this pillar is getting sleep to take care and support the health of our cognitive function. But I want to share something for our physical body as well. A study published by the World Health Organization tracked people over the course of 14 years and found that folks with poor sleep quality are twice as likely to have a heart attack. Twice as likely to have a heart attack when they're not sleeping well, and 4 times more likely to have a stroke. Now, how often do you hear this in major media? How often do you hear these conversations on how important sleep is? It's because when we go to sleep, all of these different processes are taking place and changing over with our hormones, with our microbiome in our guts, with what's happening in our brains as well. And when we're lacking on sleep, all of these processes start to suffer. And they can suffer in major ways. So literally the way that our heart is running and our heart is beating, our cardiovascular system, is largely dependent on how well rested we are. So I hope that this creates more legs on the belief and understanding of how important your sleep quality is. You're gonna make a new dedication to optimizing your sleep. And I wanna give you some tips to do that, because it's not necessarily about sleeping more, it's about sleeping better or sleeping smarter, all right? It's not just the quantity, it's the quality of sleep. And so how do we do this? How do we get more improvements in the quality of sleep? Well, number one, we wanna create a sleep sanctuary, all right? So when we walk into our bedrooms, we have an atmosphere and environment, because there's neural associations that get created to the environment that we sleep in. So if you go into your bedroom and that's where you sit down or lay down and watch TV in the bed, it doesn't matter if you turn the TV on or not. That habit or those neural associations are gonna start to fire when you go into your bedroom. Maybe you have the intention like, I'm gonna start taking my sleep a little bit more seriously, but your brain is firing to start watching some television. So creating a sleep sanctuary is getting the television out of your bedroom. Make it so that your bedroom is a place for sleep and wellness and a peaceful place, a serene place. And if you can, one of the things that we want to do and what we've seen in the data is making our bedroom as dark as possible. Now, not dark from, moonlight or the stars. Natural light is fine, but from artificial light and what we're referring to now in science as light pollution from artificial lights that are coming in through street lights outside, that are coming in through, even inside of our bedroom itself, and having artificial lights can really throw off your sleep quality. And here's why. Researchers at Cornell University did a fascinating study, and they took a light the size of just a quarter and put it behind the knee of a test subject who's sleeping in an otherwise dark room. And that tiny light behind their knee was enough to throw off their sleep cycles. And that should just be like, what? How is that even possible? It's because our skin has photoreceptors. Our entire body is always trying to monitor the environment to figure out what time it is, to get our hormone releases, our neurotransmitter releases, the function of all of our cells in alignment with nature. Whether we realize it or not, we are part of nature. But humans have this ability to kind of cut ourselves off from it, and it can cause a lot of different problems. And one of the things that's really going to be moving forward, and you're going to hear a lot more about in the upcoming years, is circadian medicine and understanding how our bodies and how treating certain things at certain times of day, even taking medications or supplements at certain times of day, exercising at certain times of day has massive impacts on the results that we get, whether they're positive or negative results. And so that's going to lead to another one here in just a moment, but create a sleep sanctuary. If you can, if you've got artificial lights outside of your house, your home, your bedroom, get yourself some nice dark curtains, some blackout curtains to make the room a little bit darker. And if you do feel like more, this is just something you do, is you like to have a little bit of a light on, you want to make sure that the hue of the light is something that's more conducive to sleep, something we evolved with, which if humans, as we evolved, had light at night, it was from fire. So it's more of those, reddish hues, orangish hues. So getting a night light that has that versus something that has the white light or blue light is especially detrimental. All right, so that's number one, create a sleep sanctuary so that when you go into your bedroom, it's just conducive to getting better sleep. Number two is going onto this topic of circadian medicine. Appalachian State University did a fascinating study, and they went to find out what time of day exercisers, how does exercising at certain times of day, how does it affect our sleep quality? And so they had exercisers to work out at 7 a.m. for one phase of the study. They had them work out at 1 p.m. for another phase of the study. And they had them to work out at 7 p.m. for an additional phase of the study. And they went to find out what time of day should we exercise to improve our sleep quality. And they compiled all the data, and they found that morning exercisers, so folks working out at the 7 p.m. time, had more efficient sleep cycles. So that means their sleep, it wasn't just the quantity, the quality of their sleep was better because they went into deep sleep and REM sleep more efficiently and spent more time there. They spent more time in the deepest, most anabolic stage of sleep, which is deep sleep. And they had about a 25% drop in their blood pressure at night. And it's just like, what? How is that possible? Well, that drop in blood pressure is really correlated with a deactivation of something called your sympathetic nervous system. It's also known as your fight or flight nervous system. This is why some people have difficulties falling asleep or staying asleep, is because their nervous system is still hyperactive. So they found that exercising in the morning can actually help them to reduce the activity of that fight or flight nervous system in the evening. It's really powerful. And what it does is something that we call clinically, it's a kind of a circadian reset or a cortisol reset, to get their cortisol elevated in the morning like what's normal and get it to drop down at night, getting a natural cortisol rhythm going again. So lots of benefits there. That doesn't mean you can't exercise in the afternoon or the latter part of the day, but I would highly recommend against exercising close to bedtime, because that's going to increase cortisol. It's going to increase your heart rate, your body temperature, all these things that make it more difficult to fall asleep and get efficient sleep. So get some exercise in the morning, whether it's just 10 minutes a day, it can be revolutionary for you. Number three is to create a consistent evening routine. Now, this might sound like Captain Obvious, but the truth is most people are not doing this right now. I remember growing up and living with my grandmother, and she would have this same routine for me. At a certain time each day is when I take my bath, I get ready for bed, read a couple of pages of this book, and I had this consistent routine. And I slept really well as a kid, and it was a great experience. It's something that I utilized and carried over with the care of my own children and having a consistent evening routine. But when we get to be adults, we just kind of throw caution to the wind. No one can tell us what to do, and we just go to bed. A lot of people, they're watching television or they're on their devices, they're on their phone, they're just like, I really should get to bed right now, versus having it as a consistent routine. So I encourage you even to think about setting yourself an evening alarm. Like we have an alarm oftentimes to get up in the morning, but maybe there's a reminder for you. Maybe it's 9 p.m. to like, hey, it's time to wind down or whatever the case might be. But creating a consistent evening routine, because again, your body is aligned with nature. You have a circadian timing system within your body. This what we call this quote body clock, that as you are in a consistent pattern, consistent flow, it allows things to be automated. And so your body can shift over and start to do more improvements. If it's just trying to get by because it's trying to just stay on some form of rhythm, it makes it very difficult for our bodies. So give yourself the gift of a consistent evening routine. Wind down time, maybe it's, you shut things down, maybe it's, 10 p.m. or 9:30, whatever the case might be for you. Maybe it's like then you spend 20 minutes doing some reading, and maybe you do, this is a good time wash your face or, brush your teeth, but having that consistent pattern of winding down, getting off your devices and allowing yourself to gracefully go into your sleep. All right, so those are the 3 tips for pillar number 2. Now we're gonna move on to pillar number 3. Now, pillar number 3 is reiterating a very important point that I really want you to understand today and moving forward. Every single thing about you, when you look in the mirror or you look down at your body right now and just take a look at your hands, what you're seeing is the food that you've eaten. Everything about you, your body and your brain, is from the food that you eat. Whether it's your immune cells, whether it's your brain cells, it is literally from the food that you eat is what creates the cells that you have. It's such a profound thing. And it should start to bring up the idea or the understanding that I can make my cells out of some pretty crappy stuff, or I can make my cells out of wonderful things that make everything work better. And one of the most important things, because we're going to keep leaning on brain health because your brain controls so much, is the importance of dietary fats. When I was in college, my traditional university, I was taught by my professors to have patients and the clients that I was working with get onto low-fat diets. It was a massive fad. I was getting low-fat cheese, low-fat this, low-fat pasta. That low-fat thing was an easy psychological trap for us because we have the assumption when we hear the word fat, we tend to think of fat on our bodies. If I eat this fat, it's gonna make me fat. But that level of reasoning and logic is like thinking, if I eat these blueberries, it's gonna make me blue. It just doesn't work like that biochemically. And dietary fats are one of the most important things for the human body. And I've been on a mission recently, and we're really gonna push this into culture in the upcoming years, just like we did with Sleep Smarter, really changing the culture around sleep the past few years and making it a popular subject. I wanna change the name of dietary fat to something else because it just creates too much confusion. It should be called maybe lipids or even energy. We can call it dietary energy. But calling dietary fat the same thing as body fat, people can get those things confused. So hopefully that helps to abate some of the resistance to dietary fats. But I want to share this with you. Research that was published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition discovered that increasing dietary levels of a specific type of fat was able to improve both memory and reaction time in test subjects. And this type of fat is called DHA. Now, DHA is in a category of omega-3 fatty acids, and it's some of the rare fats that are actually able to cross over what's called the blood-brain barrier and make it directly to your brain cells and feed your very hungry brain. Your brain probably takes up only about 2% of your overall body weight, but it's consuming about 25 to 30% of the calories you eat each day. It's a fascinating thing. It's a very hungry organ, and we need to feed it the good stuff. And so DHA is one of the most important things, omega-3 fatty acids. As a matter of fact, a study conducted by researchers at Rush University Medical Center found that eating a specific food that's super high in DHA, omega-3 fats, they found that, and I'll just tell you what that food is. It's fish. Fish is one of the best sources of these dietary fats. They found that having at least one seafood meal per week does, in fact, help test subjects to perform better on cognitive skills tests than people who have less than one seafood meal per week. All right? Simply having at least one seafood meal per week, you get these benefits of a better, higher performing brain. So I want to share that with you, but if you don't like fish, if you even, seeing a preview for the movie Aquaman makes you dry heave, if you just can't stand fish, it's not a problem. We've got some other options for you as well. But just to see in the data that foods that are high in DHA, which the best source you're gonna find is fish, specifically wild caught fatty fish like salmon, you're gonna get these benefits. So another randomized trial, so if you wanna go the supplement route, and this was cited in the Nutrition Journal found that healthy test subjects taking just 3 grams of fish oil per day for 5 weeks significantly improved cognitive performance compared to participants taking a placebo. All right, so it does show up in the clinical data that having a fish oil supplement is very effective. Now, again, if maybe you're not into fish, it's not a part of your diet protocol that you subscribe to, there are other omega-3 options as far as supplementation. You know, you can get a krill oil supplement, or even there's algae oils. But what has the most clinical evidence, and that's what I wanted to share with you today, is real whole food fish from great sources and or fish oil supplementation to get those DHA benefits for your brain. All right, so incredibly important. Another important facet here that I want to share with you, and this is from Chicago's Rush University Medical Center, found that people who ate just 1 to 2 servings of leafy green vegetables like spinach and kale each day experience fewer memory problems and less cognitive decline than people who rarely ate green leafy vegetables. So again, when they summarized and looked at all the data, they found that test subjects who ate just 2 servings of green leafy vegetables each day had brains that were roughly 11 years younger compared to folks who weren't getting in that amount of green leafy vegetables. This is outrageous, so powerful, but how few people know this. This is the power. You hear it, like, eat your veggies, eat your veggies. Why? Now we know one of the major reasons why. And a big reason that this is so powerful for the brain is that green leafy vegetables are packed with micronutrients. So there's macronutrients, fats, proteins, carbohydrates, but micronutrients do all kinds of amazing things for our cognitive function. And so to put all this information together for you in pillar number 3, we need to make sure, the number one tip is to make sure we're getting a high quality source of omega-3 fatty acids in each and every day. So this could be from a fish oil supplement, krill oil, algae oil, and or having some real whole food, high quality fish on a consistent basis. And there's several other food sources that have some DHA in there as well. This might be, whole eggs. This might be grass-fed beef and things like that. You're gonna be able to get good sources, but number one, we wanna make sure that we are targeting omega-3 fatty acids each and every single day. And there are some vegetarian sources as well, like chia seeds, like flax seeds and things of that sort. But the conversion factor, because that's in the form of ALA, it's not DHA. Your body can convert a small percentage of ALA you get from some place like chia seeds, which has other great benefits. But to get the DHA that we need for our brains, we're not gonna find that in a high quantity in plant-based sources. So we just wanna keep that in context. Make sure, number one, every day that we're getting in at least 3 grams of omega-3s. Number 2, each and every meal, target getting in some non-starchy vegetables, and most notably green leafy vegetables. So if this is for breakfast, in doing the conventional eggs and sausage, have a side of sauteed spinach along with it. You don't have to turn everything upside down, topsy-turvy. Add these things in. Add some spinach to your omelet. If you're doing a green smoothie, really emphasize the green, a little bit less on the sweet, and make sure we're getting in some kale or some spinach or things like that. So each and every meal, if at all possible, add in some non-starchy, micronutrient-rich vegetables. And number 3 tip here is the importance of hydration. This cannot be stressed enough. When I talked about how important the brain is, the number one thing that your brain is actually made of is water. All right, so that's how important it is. And as time goes on and you're not drinking enough water, your brain literally becomes dehydrated. And just a 2% drop in your overall hydration level can lead to cognitive decline. And it's really simple. It's a really simple thing to do. And what I recommend people generally to do over the years of my practice is you take your body weight. So if somebody's 150 pounds, divide that in half. And that number you come up with, that's the number of ounces I want you to get in each day. So 150 divided by 2 is 75. So you want to target 75 ounces of water each day. And once we get up to, if folks are 200 pounds or over, 100 ounces is going to be the maximum to target. You don't need to just keep guzzling water, but it's also going to depend on your activity level if you need a little bit more, a little bit less. All right, so those are the tips for that pillar. We're into our final pillar here, and this one is compact, but it is very profound and powerful. And number 4 is how to properly and consistently and powerfully manage the stress in our lives. Research published in the Annals of the New York Academy of Sciences found that chronic stress and not properly managing stress creates an incredible stress on our hormones, and it creates something known as an allostatic load, where it's like a psychological, physiological wear and tear that suppresses our immune system and causes overall dysfunction for our health. So one of the things that they noted was stress can literally create more inflammation in our bodies that make us susceptible to all manner of diseases, heart disease, diabetes, obesity. And it's from stress, not from the food that we're eating, but because stress is invisible, it sounds like this term, something we need to manage, we don't take it seriously. But today, moving forward, we need to really understand how powerful our minds are in creating health or lack of health in our bodies. So what are some of the things we can do to help manage and modulate stress in an ever-increasing stressful world? Number 1, I truly feel that our relationships are the number 1 determinant of our health and our success in our lives. And so investing in our relationships and cultivating healthy relationships with the people that we love, and reducing access to relationships that tend to drag us down, that tend to add more drama and stress to our lives, and giving ourselves permission to do that. So investing in our relationships, because healthy relationships are one of the most powerful, in the data, stress relievers in our lives. How good does it feel to have good friends or time with family members that really helps to lift you up? It just feels good. And that feeling that you're experiencing, those are positive, beneficial, anti-aging stress hormones being produced just by hanging out with people that make you feel good. All right, so that's number 1. Tip number 1, proactively invest in healthy relationships and minimize relationships that really detract and bring you down. Number 2 is going back to something we talked about. One of the most powerful stress reduction tools we have is to simply go for a walk. It's one of the things that can help to activate our parasympathetic nervous system and turn off the sympathetic fight or flight nervous system. All right, so the parasympathetic is known as the, quote, rest and digest nervous system. It helps everything to relax, feel good, be calm, and simply going for a walk, you turn on that system and get all the benefits we talked about earlier and reduction of stress. And number 3 is something I like to call daily joy. So finding something each and every day and giving yourself permission to do something for yourself that makes you feel good. And that thing might be something that you do for other people. You know, maybe it's sending a text or a note to somebody that you care about, that you appreciate, that maybe they're a family member, a friend, or somebody you work with, a colleague, something that brings you joy each day. Or maybe it's reading a book that you love, or maybe it's, having a conversation with, a close friend or family member that brings you joy, or watching a show that you love. Do something proactively each and every day to give yourself that daily joy. All right, so I hope that you enjoyed this time with me today, and I hope you got some value out of all the different things that we've gone through as far as these very powerful and important pillars. And I want you to proactively take action on something right now. Whatever really jumped out to you, take action on it today. Don't wait till tomorrow. Take action now. And know that each and every one of these pillars are something that we can grow into over time. You don't have to solve all the problems of the world and in your life in one day. Just take in little bits and pieces, add more things to the mix, and you're going to find that you find yourself in an entirely different and more powerful place in the upcoming weeks, months, and years to come. Again, my name is Shawn Stevenson. I appreciate you so much for sharing this time with me. Take care and have an amazing day.